Greetings! You're watching Septum Sen versus the World. I'm Septum Sen. Today we're going to dive back into the world of anime. And we're going to dive in the world of somewhat classic anime. Now, I've covered some anime on this show before, and in particular I've covered some interesting ones. And this particular anime is a model of its time. Mezzo Forte. Now, this one shares similarities and I believe even a world with another series that has a similar premise called Kite. And both of these share one other major factor. Both of them had pornographic scenes in them, and both of them had edits that took out the pornographic scenes. This one is the uncensored version, and I will tell you that I can see how they can easily edit out those scenes and still keep the gist of what's going on. I really do feel like whenever there's a censored version, it just turns me off when I hear the word censored, so I've got to get this uncensored version. So, let me go ahead and tell you what this is about. This is about basically two girls. One of which is this woman who is a daughter of this crime boss, and she's pretty sadistic. She likes to kill pretty much anybody and everybody. And then there is the other girl who is working with these two men who are a part of just a group that's wanting to make money for themselves by them investigating certain things and then him writing about it, or getting money for it, sort of mercenary work. The way that they present the team almost reminds me a little bit of Cowboy Bebop. Not quite entirely, but it is a good gist of it. They're sort of like mercenaries who are doing what they can to just, make ends meet in the world. So, during this time, they get approached by this mysterious man who asks them to capture the crime boss. And that is when the two's paths cross in a violent, bloody rampage known as Mezzo Forte. Mezzo also has a TV series that's attached. It's not like this one. It doesn't have the, pornographic scenes in it. And I'll be reviewing that eventually when I get to it. Which is unlike Kite. Kite only has Kite and then Kite Liberator. And Kite Liberator also doesn't really have any pornographic scenes in it either. I think that they decided after that first run that, we don't need that. The story's good enough on its own. And that is very true. The story is good enough on its own. It really doesn't need the pornographic scenes. But I'll get to those a little bit later. So, the story itself is really fun. I did enjoy this particular one. I actually liked it better than Kite, which is sad because Kite is the one that got the live-action remake. It's nowhere near as bloody. It's got blood, but it's much more tasteful. I mean, when you're dealing with anime from this period, this is like I think early 2000s. It's moved away from a lot of those bloody roots that anime is known for in the 90s and 80s. But it is something that you really have to watch or understand with anime. That earlier on, anime was very bloody, very, very bloody. And in the 90s, you hit a few blips to return to that, but really nowhere near what you had in the 80s. And
Kite really did reflect that particular time period. Mezzo, not so much. I'd say more of a 90s than an 80s type. So, the action is actually quite fun. I enjoyed watching the action. I enjoyed watching the interaction with the characters. They're pretty likable characters. I mean, for a 2 episode series, you don't get to know them as well, but I have a feeling once I get into the TV series, you'll get to know them better. And for that, they're all likable. They all have good quirks, and in truth, that makes the series much better. So we've got some good, and I mean, really, it is a good, solid, actiony, adventure-y film. But let's talk about the bad. Well, you can't talk Mezzo without talking the pornography scenes. I mean, those are kind of glaring in these particular episodes. There's actually about one per episode of this series, and there really are scenes that I felt like were put in. Again, they're put in to be put in. One of them was a scene where she had a dream, and she was dreaming about the two main characters doing things to her. And then the other one is a sort of rape scene. But it turns out okay in the end, which is kind of weird to say when I say rape scene, but you'll find out later on if you watch this. Neither one of these, to me, needed to be in there. I felt like they were definitely unneeded. The first one was just a total, like, I don't really understand why it even fits in the plot, other than saying that she's a little bit sweet on the two guys that she's with. And the other one just, I don't know, I just don't like those types of scenes in an anime, and the fact that they make it look like she really likes it, though it's explained better, still doesn't make me particularly appreciate that sort of thing. So those are two glaring bad pieces to this. But on the good side, you can get the edited version of this that has those scenes taken out. And the edit is actually done very well. I mean, the one in Kite is done very well as well. I do own the edited version of Kite. I don't own the edited version of this, so if I have to watch this again, I have to watch it with the particular scenes in there. I feel like it was very short, so again, that's a detractor, but there is a TV series, so I'm not going to hold that against this particular one. Also, it is very simplistic. I mean, action, shoot, blood, that's it. But again, it's a product of its time. It's sort of the end of an age, so to speak. And it does treat that end of the age fairly well. I can see what it's trying to be, and it falls just short of the mark. But falling just short of the mark doesn't mean it's bad, it means that it's decent. So, we've talked about this and some good and some bad. So, let's talk about what our final score is. I would give Mezzo Forte probably a 6 out of 10. Now, if I was to look at and I have seen the unrated version, I would probably say that would be a 7 out of 10, because it's actually quite enjoyable. It's a fun action romp. It's not overly bloody, though Tarantino would be enjoying this. And without those particular scenes, it definitely goes up a full point. So if you get a chance to see it, don't worry if it's uncensored. If it's censored, grab it up. This is actually out of print, unfortunately. This one particularly is done by Kitty, which is one that produces light hentai type titles. And I
I'm sad to say that that particular gem is, for the most part, hard to find. I did find a copy. I dug and got a hold of one, and I'm glad to have it because I have the TV series. I wanted to complete the particular series. Plus, I consider it a part of the Kite Liberator type thing. My next goal is to track down a censored copy so I can have that in my collection and actually watch that as my regular go-to instead of the one I've got. So, with that being said, please like this channel if you like it. Of course, subscribe, share the videos, and please comment. I mean, have you seen these before? Have you seen any of this type and that you particularly find interesting or exciting? If you do, please comment below. I will be checking you out in the next one, and I hope you have a good one.